With us now, retired Army Lieutenant General Karen Gibson. She's a former director of intelligence for U.S. Central Command. Also with us, CNN national security analyst Beth Sander and Alex Plitzis. Alice, you're right here with me, so let me just start with you. The president said, again, before he announced that he's giving this speech tomorrow night, we don't know if he's going to say we're done. But before that tonight, he said the United States could be finished in the next 2 to 3 weeks. What do you think of that timeline?
So I think it makes sense if we're going to pursue the original objectives that the Pentagon and the White House laid out before we had mission creep with the Straits. So the Pentagon, the CENTCOM commander laid out that we'd taken about 13,000 targets. There's about 3,000 left, about 2 to 3 weeks left of bombing in order to accomplish that. And then the president started making some comments that leads me to believe that we could end up walking away, saying, to the allies, we need you to step up. We need you to take responsibility for it. And then today there was a comment that, hey, going after the nuke stuff might be a little bit dangerous. So I think he's leaving himself room to leave.
General, let me ask you, what options do you think the president is leaving himself here? Supporters of the president always like to say he's unpredictable. He'll say things like, oh, I'm moving troops in there, I'm going to bomb the oil facilities. On the other hand, I want to make a deal and we might leave without the strait being open there. But what options truly exist tonight?
That's a great question. So certainly we've started to see the movement of some elements of ground forces, principally amphibious marine forces, some rapid reaction army elements, as well as some elite special forces units. So there are a variety of things that they could be used for, but it would not be a wholesale invasion of the Republic of Iran. It might be seizing the Karg oil terminal and restricting Iran's ability to use those facilities to raise money. It might be for seizing some of the islands in the Straits of Hormuz, the littoral area. Those are excellent missions for the U.S. Marines. It's what they're designed to do. All of those missions would come with some element of risk, both politically and operationally. The troops would be subject, not just while they're conducting the seizure and seizing that terrain, but for the enduring time that they are occupying it, they would probably still be subject to strikes by the remaining missiles and drones that Iran's been using against extra elements. And that would require the application of other things like a combat air patrol from fighters or intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and really tying up a large number of forces for the duration of the time that they are there.
So, Beth, the president said today that regime change has been effected, that there is a new regime, he says. He says the United States is dealing with more rational people. And now he also says that a deal, though, is not necessary. It's irrelevant at this point. How much sense does that make after these 32 days?
Well, I think Ambassador Bolton pretty much wrapped up that idea of this is obviously not regime change, when you just have different people who have the same ideology. But I think that this whole idea of, where are we right now? Iran does get a vote here. And, one of the things that we're seeing today with the kidnapping of an American journalist in Iraq, with IRGC threats against U.S. businesses in the Gulf, we've had a number of terrorist groups wrapped up in the region, and we've had cyber attacks in the United States. So, Iran can still conduct the asymmetric warfare that they were designed and built to fight. And we should expect them to do that, from the Strait to terrorism to cyber.
We are seeing it. It does seem tonight. And Alex, I know this is something that is close to home for you because U.S. journalist Shelley Kittleson has been kidnapped, apparently, in Baghdad. She's been working in Iraq, in Baghdad. The suspected kidnappers are affiliates, basically, of Iran. I know you're friends with her and have been in contact, roughly, with people around the margins here. What do you know?
So it's unclear exactly who took her at this point. It's clear the U.S. government did provide warnings that there was a potential for a kidnapping plot that could have been, conducted by proxy forces by Iran, but it's unclear exactly who has her at this point. She's a journalist. She's been operating the region for a long time. Generally one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. The government's been incredibly, responsive to it. She designated me as her emergency point of contact. I believe the family will be taken over shortly, so I don't speak for them or anybody else. But in the interim, the government's really doing a great job.
If it is a proxy, does it show that Iran is trying to maybe, spread their tentacles?
Well, it's unclear because there could be two different scenarios. This could be in response to actions in Lebanon or it could be in response to Iran. So it's really unclear until they, formally identify who the kidnappers are, they make some demands. We're kind of left guessing at the moment.
Wishing them the best, obviously, here. General, I want to ask you about the president now saying that the Strait of Hormuz, the United States, whether it's open or not, it's not a U.S. problem. So if the United States does effectively end its role in this conflict, the strait's still closed, What happens? How would European nations or Asian allies work to open it?
Well, I would say first, technically, the straits are not closed, but there have been commercial entities that have made the decision that the risk is understandably too high, commercial entities and insurance providers, that the risk is too high to conduct business there. So the decision to reopen the straits is not really a military or a political decision. It is the decision of those commercial risk owners. And what they'll be looking for is a sustained cessation of hostilities, that Iran is no longer threatening not only the straits themselves. It's important. It's not just that narrow transit corridor, but it's their ability to affect any kind of shipping in the Gulf, as well as we've seen, targets on the other side in Bahrain, Qatar, the Emirates, etc. And so they'll be looking for decreased number of strikes, as well as diplomatic indications that lead them to believe that it's not a temporary peace, that it is something that is enduring enough for them to take on the risk that it entails.
Yeah, about diplomatic sort of indications, which is a good segue to this. The Iranian president today apparently said that Iran might be willing to stop the fighting if they are not attacked again. And that was in a conversation with a separate leader there. How do you interpret messages coming from inside Iran, whether it be the president, who may not have that much power right now to begin with, or the foreign minister?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that this is one of the things, right? We know, I think, from what Rubio has said, that the regime is fractured. But what they're asking for is a guarantee that this won't happen again. But the one thing that we have to remember is now that they've held the hostage, the Strait hostage, they can go back and do this again at any time. And I think no matter how this ends, Iran will be able to and will want to exercise some control over the Strait. And as the president said today, it only takes a mine dropped there or a guy shooting off a missile.
Beth Sander, Lieutenant General Karen Gibson, Alex Plitzis, thank you all very much.